Welcome to the rugged forests of Eastern Europe, where we join the Photo Safari Club on an extraordinary expedition through the Balkan mountains to the Danube plain of Bulgaria. The proud Balkan mountains. Close by is the sparkling Danube River. The sun shines over Thrace and blazes over Pirin. Dear motherland, you are heaven on earth. These are the words used by an ancient people to describe their country, a wildlife heaven. A country of endless flourishing plains, crossed by thick green forests, magnificently beautiful mountains, crystal clear lakes and rivers. Hundreds of bird and animal species have found their home and shelter here. A wild island right in the heart of Europe, where the ancient roads that connect Eurasia and Africa intersect. A starting point, not only for the people that have conquered this continent, but also to many bird and animal species that migrate north and south, guided by millennial-old instincts for rut and nesting locations. An arena for fierce fights between gladiators. A place where civilization has held back from destroying nature. The inhabitants of the mountain are ready to welcome the summer heat. Almost all the animals have shed their winter coats and now have shorter fur to prepare for the summer warmth. The antlers of the roe deer will start to peel. Soon they will start rubbing off the mossy leather covering to free the already shaped antlers. The deer in the mountains enjoy the first fresh grasses after the late melting of the snow. The bears also take advantage of the fresh plants to restore the weight they've lost during their long hibernation. The roe deer prefer to move to another meadow as their clumsy neighbor approaches. Even though the bear is mostly vegetarian, nobody knows what might happen when it's hungry. The hungry bear won't miss the crispy ants and would much prefer the honeycomb from a beehive. But to its greatest disappointment, they're still empty. Life goes on at full throttle in the thick forest, as well as on the high mountainous meadows. The chamois pregnancy is over, and the mothers happily relax into pasture and relaxation. They won't be bothered by all the males playing their power games to nominate the worthiest of them all. It's not only chamois, but the deer and even rabbits that are in combat readiness to fight for a partner. The rabbits have the safest fighting style of all the forest inhabitants. The boxing matches to find the winners among the long-haired opponents are energetic but brief. This rabbit that is ready to fight has summoned up enough bravery to meet another opponent. But its heart is close to bursting in fear at every unexpected encounter, even if it's only with the jumpy deer. This stag will soon realize it has scared one of the most harmless mountain inhabitants. The roebuck will continue its tour in the search for a suitable opponent in its category. The falcon that witnessed this encounter is not happy about the rabbit's escape. The deer ruined the stalking of its long-eared breakfast right at the time when the predator bird was about to nosedive onto the exposed rabbit. It had to hide once again in the clouds and stay motionless, so even the tiniest movement on the ground will catch its trained eyes. Remaining still in one place requires incredible pilot skills and significant effort on behalf of the falcon. Nevertheless, the deer has not realized what's been going on in the skies above it. It was deep in thought about finding an opponent with which to measure its strength. The youngster was still weak and inexperienced in the fights to mark its territory, and without that territory, he won't be able to woo the females. At the first challenge, the team gets spooked and runs full throttle in front of the old deer, pouncing onto it. The youngster has been successfully chased away by the ruler of that territory. Roe deer are mostly territorial animals. The area onto which the youth has trespassed is being protected by its owner quite jealously, because thanks to its great location and vegetation, it is this species' perfect habitat. The females also love hiding in the tall grass that provides the owner with many opportunities for siring offspring. The fresh green plants attract many other inhabitants, with whom the deer does not mind cohabiting. The tortoise is so slow and clumsy while moving it becomes almost unnoticeable by the others, but not by the rabbit. Its sharp hearing can catch every nearby rustle. The construction of its ears allows it to rotate them 180 degrees as an echolocator without moving its body at all. And if necessary, it can quietly run off. Unlike the rabbit, who relies on his long ears and strong rear legs to remain safe, roe deer has a very dangerous weapon to protect itself. However, the use of that weapon requires a lot of care. Rubbing the antlers onto the shrubs is done not only to remove their mossy cover when new. The more resin accumulated onto their antlers, the more fearsome they seem to their opponents. Preserving the fawn's life is the sole responsibility of their mothers. They take care of them until the age of 4 months. The fawns suckle milk throughout that time and get stronger so that they can start an independent life. All the life knowledge accumulated by the babies comes exclusively from the animal's direct experience with their environment. Their instincts are part of their kinship memory. It protects them from making fatal mistakes. But sometimes the inquisitive and playful attitude that the youngsters have towards the surrounding world could put them in dangerous situations. When all the animals of the herd are together, their number helps to keep predators away. If some careless fawn moves away from its mother, bad things can happen. This young fawn has never seen a fox, but something inside it makes it keep away. The herd left the forest some time ago, and the fawn's mother is now searching for it, calling it to show itself or to answer back. All the females start making the throaty roars. The fawn is alone and scared at the end of the forest. In the distance, it can hear its relatives calling, and it runs towards them. However, its path is intercepted by the fox, who has also heard the fallow deer's calls. The whole forest is awakened by the females and their babies' constant roaring. The wolf is also trying to find out exactly where the sounds are coming from, and whether these are calls for help by an animal in trouble. Eagles are interested in the calamity too. The baby is caught in a dead-end street, but it can neither call for help nor run away. Fear has made it freeze like iron tongs. It doesn't dare to move. The screams of its mother are calling to it irresistibly. The roebuck sees one of the oldest females heading back along the track, and the baby running alongside it. The female's bite and sharp hooves are threatening enough for the fox. The predator sinks lower into the grass and is quick to leave the crime scene unnoticed. Even so, the female fallow deer is not about to give up that easily and keeps a close eye on the fox. The predator saves itself by running into the thickest shrubs where the deer won't venture. The fawn has already calmed down and waits for the female to accompany it back to the herd. It will be much more careful in the future and won't get too far from its mother again. The roe deer is mostly unaffected by the situation that's just unfolded. Other animals' anxieties are not its problem. It has an important job, It needs to pile on as much mass as possible before the start of the battles for its territory. His territory is the best in this particular forest, and he'll have to face contenders for it one by one. Everything seems exceptionally calm in the afternoon hours that precede the busy dusk. Nonetheless, something is not the way it should be, and the deer is the first to sense it. Although not in immediate danger, some sixth sense has disturbed it for a moment. Rabbits are much more sensitive to the occurrence of dangers in the forest. Even fawns feel insecure. A bird's alert is well known to all the peaceful inhabitants of the meadow. This is a sign of an approaching predator. Whoever dismisses this warning could easily end up in someone's stomach. It seems that all predators come to life just before nightfall, probably helped by the uproar created by the female fallow deer. The frightened animals carefully select their pathways and avoid the dark and dense parts of the forest. They prefer the outskirts. The alert is soon forgotten, and the animals sink once again beneath the shadowy green vault of the forest vegetation. The wolf has already been tracking along the deer track, and the only thing left for it to do is to wait for some youngster to get separated from the adults and to take it. It observes them carefully and cautiously from afar, not risking the anger of the unnerved mothers with their killer kicks and painful bites. It's much easier to wait for the right time, hidden in the tree shadows, where the grey vagabond is hidden. Two females sense it, however, and run away. Even so, there is one female left alone with her baby. It is calm and is moving slowly. The wolf follows its trace and hopes to stalk the unprepared animal. The wolf has stumbled onto something interesting left in the fresh scent from its future victim. The adult smell is separate from the one of the fawn. This is the chance the wolf has been waiting for. While trying to stalk the baby, the wolf has been noticed. Its victim is trying to sneak away and run off, but it's not running in the direction of safety. With every leap, the baby has drifted further and further away from its mother. The wolf could not be happier of its golden opportunity to feed on the fragile creature. The predator immediately follows it from afar to make it drift further away, so that the noise of the catch won't attract its mother. The inexperienced one-month-old deer is trying to hide in the roots of a fallen tree. The golden oriole has witnessed the scene. The bird doesn't like predators, and whenever it can, it gives away the dangerous hunter's position to everyone in the forest. Even so, the warning itself won't be enough to save the fawn. While she was busy choosing the freshest leaves from the tree, the mother hasn't realized what's happened to her baby. The wolf is already done with the fawn, leaving it dead and half-eaten in the shadows of the forest. Its motionless body is left among the shadows as evidence of the cruel reality of life. Wildlife survives thanks only to its everyday struggle for food, for territory, for the right to create offspring, but mostly for life itself. The beautiful colors and enchanting smells are also a reason to fight for survival. What's most important to the predator cat right now is to protect its babies and teach them to hunt, where they can roam safely and from what to protect themselves. The uproar created by the fallow deer attracts the lynx. It's the right time to introduce the young lynxes to the other forest inhabitants. The kittens are too small to take part in any real hunting, but their mother can show them some representatives of the small game group. The first worthy game that could save the cat from starvation is the hoopoe. It's an easy catch for a skillful hunter, while it's occupied searching for worms and European mole crickets. But the bird can't match the tasty qualities of the fragile rabbit. And the hoopoe knows how to play some scary tricks with the feathers sticking out at the back of its neck. Especially when aroused or scared, the bird energetically stretches its crest. An action that has startled predators more than once. This motion has helped it get away from a cat's claws on many occasions. A noisy group has gathered at the meadow in the forest. The feasting white-headed vultures are the forest bin men. In less than half an hour, they can clean all remnants of a small animal. The herbs and flowers in bloom attract the insects before sunset. The approaching cool of the evening invites all the animals, birds and plants to finish off their daily chores. The end of the day approaches and the night begins. These are the hours best suited to predators. Night falls quickly, and in the dusk, the stars and the moon are the only light sources in these darkest hours. Around 3 a.m., the first light of the morning dawn starts to sneak in. Even though there's still a few hours to sunrise itself, the songs and knocks of the first early waking birds are already echoing in the forest. The woodpecker is one of the earliest waking and most workaholic of the birds. Thanks to its strong beak, it takes its favorite food straight from the tree bark beetles and caterpillars. In the high mountainous coniferous forests, the woodpeckers and hoopoes are among the best tree doctors in the forest. As well as insects, the large colorful woodpecker supplements its winter diet with small fir cones. The bird tears them off and puts them inside small dens in the dry trees. There, the bird removes the kernels with powerful blows. The large, colorful woodpecker nests inside the dens it's dug itself. Hidden among the leaves, the woodpecker taps repeatedly on the trunk. This is its mating song, with which the males, just like the females, attract their partners. There's another bird that inhabits the coniferous forests and which also stands out with its unique style of drumming. Unlike the woodpecker, it prefers feeding exclusively on plant food. The western capercaillie is a large bird with the dimensions of a turkey. Inside the mixed coniferous forests, it feeds mainly on white pine buds and tips. It's picky when it comes to its menu and prefers the coniferous leaves of a particular white pine located at the end of the forest. During the mating season, the males start singing their song called the mating song. The capercaillies arrive at the mating grounds in the evening. The cock starts performing the mating ritual early in the morning in the tree where it spent the night, but ends up on a stone or tree trunk later on, where it continues the ritual, jumping up noisily from time to time. It finds the females on the ground while observing all the birds that have come to mate. This is the lynx's favorite time for attacking the exhausted birds. When frightened, the capercaillie flies up suddenly into the air, but because of its significant weight, its flight is poor, sometimes hitting a tree stem or branch and getting injured. capercaillies are one of the species of birds most in danger of extinction. Because of human deforestation and the large wildfires, this beautiful bird is included in the Red Book of Bulgarian fauna. In addition to the capercaillian lynx, another inhabitant of the high mountains is also on its way to losing its habitat. The Balkan chamois is a typical yet unique species. It is an endemic animal named after the longest mountain range in Bulgaria, Stara Planina, the mountain called Balkan by the Bulgarians. The chamois populations are present in all the high mountain regions, and you can see these goats along the rocky peaks, as well as in the high mountainous forests. The alpine ibex also enjoys its small and limited presence. Over the centuries, it became extinct, and in recent decades, it has started repopulating the high mountains. Without a doubt, the Balkan chamois is the ruler of the mountainous slopes. Its anatomy is adapted to surviving in extreme conditions. Its skillful movement along the steep and rocky sections make it untouchable by predators. In practice, no natural enemy could reach it while on the run. During a chase through the high and vertical rocks, it's unreachable. Even the rock eagle could only catch a very young animal. The chamois share the high mountainous meadows with roe deer. The deer's throaty roar warns all the wild inhabitants of any approaching danger. From their high position, the chamois observe everything, and if they decide that the roebuck's alert is genuine, they will warn the rest of the herd with their piercing whistling. Chamois are at their fastest across country terrain thanks to their strong muscles, light bones, and unique eyesight. Their sight is 10 times better than that of humans and can scan in detail the terrain in front of them for many meters. They can observe every detail, every stone and rock, thanks to their magnified vision. In a straight line, the animals can jump distances of over 2 times the human long jump world record. Their combined super senses of hearing, eyesight and smell make the chamois the best adapted animal to survive in the extreme habitats where it makes its home. The chamois' sense of smell is so developed that the males use it as a weapon during the mating period. When a male has conquered a territory, it marks it with a smelly secretion from the base of its horns. Should an opponent appear, the territorial ruler will start to rub its horns in a demonstrative way onto the closest shrub. If this isn't enough, it starts urinating along the borderline of its territory. The meeting finally ends in battle, during which the long curved horns turn into dangerous weapons. In nature, these battles for superiority rarely result in serious injuries, but sometimes the males of 2 different species take part in battle, a duel between the alpine ibex and a Balkan chamois. Often these are fatal because of the different battle techniques used by each species. The ibex lifts its rear legs and hits downwards with its head and hooves. The chamois pierces flesh with the sharp tips of its horns in an upwards fashion. The goat can attack the abdomen and other less well-protected body parts of its opponent. This usually brings about victory for the wild goat and the ibex's death. Maybe this is one of the reasons behind the disappearance of the alpine ibexes from the Bulgarian mountains. Here comes another inhabitant of the high mountains. Even though the roebuck shares its habitat with the Balkan chamois and alpine ibex, it doesn't care to jump along the rocky peaks and cornices. The roebuck prefers the alpine meadows and forests, and sometimes descends lower into the plains. Roebucks, unlike chamois, ibex and deer, do not fight for the female's attention during the mating period. They have much more elegant ways of defining who is the more worthy contender. The roebuck has already chosen its meadow and has marked it by rubbing its antlers and transferring its specific scent. The intruder senses this smell and is trying to chase away the host with its typical throaty roar. The surrounding animals don't bother paying attention to the roebuck's constant quarreling. Soon, the outsider is sent off without a fight, probably because it was frightened of the furious and threatening behavior of its opponent. But that's not the reason this time. Roebucks don't have to define who is the strongest amongst them, because roes don't participate in a harem. The female is monogamous and stays with the roebuck she has chosen. The chosen one creates offspring after a long chase around the shrubs, trees, or rocks. This chase goes on in an ellipse and is so long that the ground is flattened with clearly outlined circles on the ground. These circles are the reason behind the various superstitions and beliefs among the local people of supernatural forces. They call this phenomenon wood nymph circles. Should the roebuck succeed in catching the female, it conquers her, and if not, she abandons him and goes looking for a stronger roebuck. This is the way natural selection works in the case of the roe, without bloody mating battles which eliminate weak and sick animals, the way it is with red deer. After the roebuck's roar subsides, calm and silence finally falls. The young chamois get restless with the approach of the evening's cooler temperatures. Everything seems calm and peaceful. Yet before the onset of night, dusk is the favorite time for wildcats to go hunting. The light is still not completely gone, which can scare the goats and make them withdraw to their inaccessible rocky outposts. It's still not completely dark, but neither is the sun shining, so the goat's eyesight isn't that sharp. This is the time where predator cat's eyesight is best adapted. Now, they stand the best chance of stalking some young chamois or deer. The roebucks run away after sensing the smell of the predator cat, but to their greatest surprise, they see not the fearful lynx approaching, but a smaller version of the hated cat. Their surprise lasts only for a second, before fear takes over their curiosity. Their instinct of self-preservation hasn't misled them, because the predator is nearby and has its eyes on a chamois. The intended victim's position is convenient for stalking from above. This is an excellent opportunity for young predators to acquire some skills. This will be their first stalking lesson. With slow and careful movements, the lynx chooses a specific route in order not to scare the goat. Wind direction is vital for the approach of the predator to go unnoticed. The victim realizes nothing until the last movement, when the predator cat throws itself onto it. With a single skillful move, the lynx breaks the neck of the chamois paralyzed with fear. The other chamois scattered around the junipers quickly understand what's happening. Running away is the only thing they can do. The dead animal weighs around 30 kilograms and will help the lynx and its baby stay well fed for several days. This kind of feast is a rarity for the large cat. The forest inhabitants will be left in peace for the next couple of days, just long enough to become less cautious. Because of winter, the goat corpse was not well fed. However, the lynx doesn't get complacent. It was able to take care of its babies on the account of its good luck in hunting. The fluffy kittens are still too young to tear apart the game corpse themselves, so Mum helps them. This is an exciting moment for the baby lynx. This is the first game meat acquired with their participation. In a short time, the kittens will be big enough to be able to hunt on their own. Nevertheless, until then, together with their brother, they will be taken care of and instructed by their mother. The big cat will take care of them until the next year, when it gets ready to mate. Until then, it will have to introduce them to the many dangerous, beautiful, and exciting animals with whom they're about to cohabit in wild Bulgaria. The salamander, an exceptional moisture-loving amphibian that leaves the water only when the rains come during the hot summer. Just like the plants that change with the seasons, animals must also adapt to changes in the climate. Regardless of whether you're the mighty king of the mountain or a rain-soaked bear, everyone gets scared by thunder and lightning. The pouring rain and thunderstorms are a foretaste of the approaching autumn here in Bulgaria. The country is located in the southern eastern part of the Balkan Peninsula in Eastern Europe, next to the Black Sea. Hence the dramatic changes in climate throughout the seasons. Cold winter, cool spring, hot summer, and mild autumn. The difference in climate in the mountain and seaside areas define the biodiversity in flora and fauna in wild Bulgaria. Here, you can see over 3,600 vascular plant species, 94 mammal species, 383 bird species, 36 reptile species, and over 27,000 species of insect. And all of them live and survive in the rapidly changing climate. It's much easier to survive in the lowlands and fields, even in extreme droughts or long and freezing winters. The animals up in the mountains are real experts in survival. They have adapted to the weather changes using every possible resource. To them, the spider webs, beautifully decorated with diamond dewdrops, provide a source to satisfy their thirst without making a tiresome march to the river. The storm-torn sunflowers are an abundant and easy breakfast. The seeds are a favorite food of birds, pigs, deers, and even rabbits and mice, and they take advantage of the residue scattered on the ground. Autumn is a season when no one stays hungry for long. Maybe that's why nature has programmed the animal's biological clock to start the mating season then. Red deer are the largest mammals to inhabit the Bulgarian forests. Stag and fallow deer share the same territory during the rutting season. The red stag love the thick forests and hidden cozy meadows. The fallow deer fight their battles in the wide and open spaces. This stag is ready to meet its opponent in battle. With short, throaty roars, it invites it to come into the open arena. The meadow on top of the hill behind is one of the mating grounds where the stags try out their power and stamina. Obviously, the younger stag feels respect for its large and powerful elder. Its deep and bass-filled roar contributes to the panic taking hold of the young 3-year-old. Fear wins over bravery, and the newcomer disappears into the thick foliage without making a sound. Dozens of deer have chosen this part of the forest as their mating ground, the place where the mature stags have taken up their chosen territory. They prefer this open area within their forest habitat. Their mating call is a mighty roar that resounds through the forest for many kilometers. The females move among the deer and choose their mating partner. Soon, every male establishes his harem. Often, the adult and powerful males gather the hinds in groups of 5 or 6, sometimes even more. In normal circumstances, young deer are not allowed to take part in the mating rituals. They get chased away from the mating grounds even before the females start choosing their partners. The youngsters circle the mating grounds, looking to start duels, but are chased away by the more experienced fighters, with thunder-like roars and a threatening ploughing of hooves. This happens every year, until the young ones get old enough and add sufficient muscle mass as well as fully developed antlers to finally be able to defeat the old stags and conquer their harem. You can find red deer in Europe, Asia, North Africa and South and North America. It's also well adapted to the conditions in New Zealand. In Bulgaria, at the beginning of the 1930s, it almost became extinct. Only 2 examples were preserved in Stara Planina and Rila. Its population recovered with its reintroduction into the mountains, plains and forests of Dobruja and Ludogorets. In summer, the deer's colouring is usually red-brownish, to merge with the dried leaves that turn darker with autumn. In winter, it is grey-brownish, so it can blend into the snow. The male changes its antlers every year, from March until the end of April. The 1-year-olds have very small, underdeveloped antlers, with 1 or 2 branches, which during their 2nd year can branch off up to 6 times more. As they age, their antlers grow larger, more powerful, and more complex. They become fully developed in their 10th year, when the branches in their antlers number 24 or more. During that period, they are the rulers of the forest and take the most hinds during mating. There's no animal in these lands that doesn't obey them. They're not afraid of most forest inhabitants either. Well, probably from just one. Even though the brown bear is vegetarian, the deer have witnessed on more than one occasion the culinary deviations of the blood-loving bears. In several years' time, after the deer have passed their prime, their antlers get shorter in length, but thicker and heavier. They don't start to submit in battles with the younger deer, but with age, their teeth start wearing down, and finally they perish in the harsh winter months due to malnutrition. The frequent fogs in autumn hamper visibility. The animals experience great difficulty as the fog interferes with their sight and hearing. Even their sense of smell is affected because of the moist air. These days can be a real nightmare for wildlife, especially if followed by a thunderstorm. After a terrifically stormy night, peace comes to the land. The next morning, life starts anew. The humidity evaporates beneath the sun's strong rays. The roebuck is rushing towards its favorite meadow for breakfast, but someone has already outpaced it. Bears, like the deer, love the red berries. The harvest is abundant, and it seems like the hungry bear is about to stay. The deer will have to look for something else to eat for breakfast. The fresh hazel tips at the end of the meadow are the second best breakfast for the roebucks. Every living being is busy finding something to eat. Some butterflies are attracted by the flower's fragrance, and others by the opportunity to try the leftovers from the lynx's dinner. The butterflies don't seem to be solely vegetarian. However, all this matters not to the cat that's relaxing after the night's hunt. Thanks to the lynx's successful stalking, the young, noisy eagles will be able to eat. The remains are almost gone, but they can always find some hidden meat somewhere. This bird is not that large. It reaches 60 centimeters in height, and its wingspan goes to about 1.5 meters. It weighs around 1.5 kilos. Just before the start of the feast, the eagle is startled by the sound of something approaching. A female fallow deer has been attracted by some movement along the top of the hill. Its curiosity, though, is soon diverted by the fearful smell of rotting flesh. The wind, carrying this message of death, causes the animal to quickly run away, and the predator bird can resume its feast again. Right now, the eagle's not the only one interested in the remnants from the predator. A flock of grey crows have also caught the smell from the offal and are trying to join in the feast. The eagle is twice as big as the grey crows, but its opponents are many times larger in number. The grey crows feed on absolutely everything, but they prefer hunting small rodents and amphibians. These birds are very intelligent. They can count and even pronounce some words. If raised in captivity, they prefer people's company to one of their own. The eagle tries to protect its catch. But these super intelligent birds know very well what this small, quarrelsome eagle is capable of. It could kill every intruder with a single strike. Hence, the crows use shrewd tactics. One or two of them distract the eagle, while the others carry the pieces of meat away. The distracting birds have to be very fast and skillful, so as not to end up as a target of the eagle's deadly force. It could kill any one of the grey birds with a single strike to the head. The eagle has kept clear of the crows for a while now, so it goes for a bite of meat itself. However, this small gain is short-lived, thanks to the support flocking in from the hordes of grey intruders. The crows grow in confidence and start subjecting the eagle to some physical harassment. And this master of the skies withdraws to a safe place. It's a temporary withdrawal, however, thanks to the appearance of some backup. The female with whom he would soon be raising their chicks has come to its assistance. The crows are pushed aside and must admit defeat. But now, the predator bird's attention is focused on the presence of the female. It's about time to start raising their offspring, and the instinct to strengthen their bond is stronger than hunger. After the foreplay, the male becomes exhausted and flies away. The female remains alone. The grey crows are delighted with the opportunity to return to their catch, now the female eagle has left. The two crows keep circling above, making false attacking moves on the female eagle, while the rest of the flock eat. After the constant attacks and harassment from the large number of grey crows, the female eagle finally decides to leave the battlefield. Its withdrawal is only temporary, however. A few minutes later, the bird returns, this time armed with a wooden branch. On the battlefield, this changes everything. Now the food is within the grasp of a much more dangerous opponent. Even the return of the male eagle won't tilt the scales in their favor. This fox isn't scared of them. It's not afraid of the other birds either, even though the crows try hard to keep the remains of the lynx's kill to themselves. The only chance left for the feathered creatures is to hope the fox can't eat everything and something will be left over. Half an hour later, the eagles and the crows are back to where they started, trying to outsmart each other. The situation recalls the Bulgarian proverb, when two are fighting, the third one always wins. Deep inside the oak forest, another conflict is about to unfold. However, this time, the dispute is not over food, it's for territory. This pack of wild boars passing through the forest become an accidental witness to an emerging quarrel between two male fallow deer. The female pack leader is momentarily startled when she hears the throaty roars. The boars are quick to flee as far away as possible from the battlefield and the warring stags. This battle could take place over an area of many square kilometers, as the two opponents slowly stalk each other, always looking to launch a surprise attack and stab their opponent with their sharp horns. The red deer have also started dueling at their mating grounds, but the scars on their torn fur, as well as their broken antlers, are the least of their problems. Dozens of animals die from their wounds, as well as exhaustion from their mating games. The survivors have the right to a harem and the privilege of siring their offspring. The red deer inhabit the forest massifs as well as the alpine pastures and high mountainous deciduous forests. The mountain deer are fewer in number, but the males have almost no competitors during the rutting season. It's hard surviving up in the mountains. Finding and establishing a harem is too. It takes a lot of stamina for the males to search for the scattered hinds among the alpine pastures and to call for them with their throaty roars. The stag's roar, more often than not, upsets the other inhabitants of the mountains. Sometimes the burning desire to gather a harem is so strong that it makes the young animals climb even closer to the inaccessible kingdom of the Balkan chamois. Frightened by the powerful roars, chamois and mouflons are fast to drift away from the threatening noise repeated by the mountain's echo. The Balkan chamois also have a strong desire to create offspring. Their mating season starts much later, and the animals need to gather into larger groups. The herd is comprised of mostly females with their babies. The lonely males circle around them. Sometimes, if there's enough food during the winter and the weather isn't too cold and harsh, the herd can swell to more than 1 or even 200 animals. The larger the herd, the more protected and calm the goats feel. This is important for the intake of food. When more adult females keep an eye on the herd, the animals are less stressed and spend more time grazing than watching out for enemies. This way, an attack from a predator, be it a dog, wolf, or eagle, can be prevented. The season where the animal's behavior is defined by the storm of hormones rushing through their blood has started. Day after day, the fallow deer feel the overwhelming desire to leave their offspring. With every passing sunset, their desire grows hotter and the mornings get colder. The minus temperatures during the night result in frost and rind formations on the plants. The leaves on the trees turn to their palette of bright autumn colors, and the fallow deer are looking for their females. Even when the stags find a suitable herd of females, it's not easy to win over the animals to make a harem. The males fight fiercely until total victory or a dreadful defeat. Battles are cruel and unfair. The only thing that matters is eliminating the other contenders. When two males fight, there is always a third circling around, waiting to ambush an unprotected participant. The blows from the third participant can be treacherous and lethal, because the horns can inflict fatal wounds that the victim didn't see coming. The winner is usually the one who has invested the least effort and who has taken advantage of the other opponent's fatigue and weakness. As the weather gets cooler, it marks the beginning of the bird's migration. This is one of the most exciting and mysterious phenomena in the world of the feathered inhabitants of the wildlife in Bulgaria. All migratory birds gather in flocks and undertake a long flight to warmer places. But many of them will remain here, and even during the coldest winter months. It's because this place is actually to the south of their usual habitats, and the winter here in Bulgaria is actually warmer than it is there. The duck, for example, being the hawks and eagles' favourite game, stays nesting during the summer in small groups. But during the winter, they arrive in enormous numbers from the north and stay for a long while. The flocks become numerous, which protects them from attacks by air predators. If it's a mild winter, the ducks remain around the dams and larger water basins until the spring. With chaotic movements and wing clapping, the water birds confuse the hawks and eagles stalking them from above, making them reluctant to attack. They only have to worry about the predators from below. Whether a particular bird species flies south for the winter or remains here depends on what it feeds on. In regions where winter is particularly cold, some usual bird foods such as nectar and insects may not be available all year round. The birds that need these foods will fly south in order to find what they need to survive. The other birds that eat algae, seeds or beetles, which live beneath the tree bark, frequently don't leave, since they can still find food here throughout the winter. All bird species have a uniquely encoded location, in other words, where they hatched. And this isn't by chance. This is the only way that nature can ensure the community continues. It's the same for deer and their mating grounds. Every year they travel tens to hundreds of kilometers to gather at the same location to ensure the continuation of their kind. The changes in the colors of the leaves on the trees are one of the signs of the start of the new mating season, as if nature is celebrating the beginning of the new life cycle. At this stage, the battles between deer take place not only at the mating grounds. The aroused stags have scattered into the forest and are following the females and the newly established harems. The strikes from the duels between the stags echo far and away into the forest meadows. Most animals, like roebucks and mouflons, try to steer clear of the heated arguments of the deer crazed with passion. Most of the animals are absent from the mating grounds, except for the wild boars. They don't care about the dangerous behavior of their horny neighbors, as they are protected by an impermeable leathery hide and thick corneal shield at the front part of their body. Their bristles are so hard that they can scrape the bark of a young tree just by rubbing against it. Actually, this is the way they mark their territory, leaving a strong, recognizable scent for the rest of their species. Their sense of smell is well known, and their other senses complement this to keep the boars well protected. Even though their eyesight isn't perfect, their hearing is. The boar can hear their favorite acorns cracking for hundreds of meters inside the thick foliage. Perhaps this is the only sound that might force it to give up its afternoon nap. Obviously, some of its brothers have found the tasty beech acorns. These hard, walnut-like fruit are rich in fats, proteins and sugars. This is the pig's favorite food. But it's also being consumed by other forest inhabitants. When they can't navigate by sound, the wild boars rely on their sense of smell. It never misleads them, especially if the wind brings them the smell of freshly cracked acorns. Not far away, at the foot of the deer mating grounds, a group of boars has found a huge cache of acorns. The morning frost has caused a great deal of beech and oak fruit to fall suddenly from the trees. To the boars, who are constantly hungry, this is like discovering a wedding cake. A young mother is the first to sniff out the rich food stock, and she fervently tries to keep the lion's share for her own pack. The smell of the pig's freshly chewed delicacy is carried through the forest by the slightest breeze. The noise of the boars digging in the leaves with smacking muzzles full of tasty acorns is attracting more and more packs to the place. The newcomers are still quite young, and they encounter the female's obviously hostile attitude. If it was up to her, not a single acorn would be left for the intruders. She keeps chasing away the impertinent youngsters time after time, but they're stubborn and come back again and again. The female bites one of the piglets. After that show of aggression, the newcomers stop trying to enter her territory. She now has the time to try out the treasure she's discovered. The protector has a few calm moments in which her pack can feast untroubled on the tasty acorns. But something interrupts the fun. The smell of a large male precedes his arrival by several seconds. Attracted by all the noise, the boar comes to check for himself what the fuss is all about. The large animal has caught the scent of the acorns the pack is eating. But the many hungry muzzles have left almost no fruit in the dry leaves, and the boar leaves disappointed. More boars arrive at the end of the day. The dwindling stocks of acorns become the cause of a noisy argument between the newcomers and the pack that first arrived. The noise of the pigs whining is deafening and can be heard from many kilometers high up in the mountains. In the quiet forest, the pigs squeaking is like a lighthouse to the wolves, mad with hunger. As the sultry heat of the September afternoon passes, the predators come to life. The wolf pack starts gathering in the shadows of the night. If enough participants gather for the attack, the wolves could encircle the boar pack unnoticed and maybe catch a young boar. However, the pigs' super senses warn them in plenty of time of the approaching wolf pack, and the ambush is unsuccessful. Some wolves haven't eaten for days and are tired and irritable. The fresh boar smell, soaked into the dry leaves, drives the hungry predators mad. The failed boar hunt is soon forgotten though, when the pack finds a semi-dead fallow deer, wounded during the mating battles. By dawn, there is almost nothing left of the fallow deer, and the last wolf leaves some gnawed bones on the ground. The first rays of sun will reveal what's left of the wolf's dinner to the vultures. The carrion-eating birds have already gathered like spectators at the Colosseum, waiting for the bread and circuses. From early morning, the two horned gladiators have interwoven their powerful spade-shaped antlers in lethal battle. The battle that could turn one or both of them into food for vultures and wolves. But these are the laws of this fight club for the wildlife of Bulgaria.